What's up, everyone? Andy and Nathan coming to you from wagertalk.com. We're going to go over UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. Um, like a lot of people, we may have to get part-time jobs from the losses from last betting weekend.
It was wild.
That was a little bit of a bloodbath for a lot of people.
Oh my lord.
We only had one bet. We lost it in pretty spectacular fashion. Um, but but we're gonna gosh dang it, Garam.
Yeah,
so
right.
but
I know.
a very bettable card. I do think there are some tricky places. I would not be surprised if we see
Mhm.
some upsets because that's kind of been the flavor of the day here for the UFC. So let's break down the card. Let's see where we can find some value to bet on. Let's see what we like in these fights. And we will start. Let's just start with the new one that just came out: Jack Della Maddalena versus Josiah Harrell. And if you maybe know the name Josiah Harrell, it was because unfortunately he basically pile drived a guy through the door that wasn't latched properly.
That was awesome.
His
That
last
was
event made Sports Center. He gets the very last minute notice. And boy, it doesn't get much tougher than coming in on short notice against Jack Della Maddalena. Nathan, does Josiah have a minuscule chance in this one?
no.
I'm with
The short answer is no. I mean, he is going to be what do I have here in the notes? He's actually going to be, I think, like several inches shorter. He typically fights at 155, but he has a hard time making weight. He actually missed in the fight in which he ran the dude through the cage and all that stuff, which was a 9-8 fighter. Not very what however you want to say it. Not
It's
that
not
impressive of
impressive.
a
It's
win.
low level.
Yeah, low level, low level. He, has a hard time making 155, so he's going to take this fight at 170. I think he is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, he is. Where do I have the notes here? Several inches shorter and several inches shorter in both height as well as reach. Jack is just going to. It's going to be like a burrito situation from last week. I think I don't see the skill set. I mean, he's got, good ground and pound. He's got a good double jab. We're talking about Josiah here. But other than that, the level of competition is night and day. I mean, he comes out of the Ohio regional scene, then fought in another, and then finally made his way to LFA in his debut and won that. There's levels to this game, and I think
Yeah,
he's going to meet a brick wall in Jack. So,
he's doing what he should do, which is take a UFC fight when UFC calls
yep.
because we know he's going to get another fight with a full camp, and he's probably not going to fight a monster
Yeah, it
like
was 2 weeks
Jack.
ago. It was 2 weeks ago he fought and took the, whatever in the LFA fight.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's Madalena by TKO. I always recommend take the inside the distance. We saw it Randy Brown. With Jack when Jack fought Randy Brown. If you took inside the distance, you were happy.
Mhm.
But if you're gonna play Madalena, I think it's inside the distance or fight under, maybe to finish in the first round, something. But I don't really see a path to victory for Josiah. Like you said, he does try and work ground and pound. He's not going to be able to get Jack down. So I think that kind
No,
of
I mean, again, here's the notes. Jack will have a 4-inch height advantage and a 6-inch reach advantage.
for
It,
arguably the best boxer in,
it yes,
or at least
he's
top
gonna.
three in
I
UFC.
Jack's got it anywhere. He's got it on the feet. He's got it in the grappling. He's got it in the submission. He's just got it everywhere. It's gonna be a one-way ticket
Yeah, it's
to his first loss in the UFC. Josiah, sorry, buddy.
moving on to Edgar Chairez and Tatsuro Taira. I'm glad we're getting a Taira fight fairly soon.
Finally,
Yeah,
yeah.
after his last one got canceled. We had a big play on the last one. We felt great about that. So we're looking at Edgar Chairez from Mexico. We see these fighters from Mexico, and these guys don't get finished, at least on the feet. They're just really, really tough.
Hmm.
But that's not really what Taira does here. I looked up Chairez, and you know he's tough, but I don't think he's all that great on the feet. In his last fight, I thought he was losing some of the exchanges on the feet pretty
Oh yeah.
handily. His last fight was one of the grossest finishes ever, one of the most unfortunate referee moments ever. Chairez's opponent was unconscious in the triangle. Ref didn't know it, so Chairez flipped it into an arm bar,
Oh
and the
yeah.
guy was unconscious with his arm getting ripped off. he didn't stop it. The announcers are screaming at the ref. And that guy ended up in the hospital. They deemed it an extreme arm dislocation. Really unfortunate, but Chairez gets the job done. I think I like what I've seen from Taira's striking to where he doesn't need to knock guys out like Chairez. He needs to be dangerous enough to keep him on his toes for a little bit until he looks to get the takedown. Chairez is at a huge disadvantage on the ground. I know he won his last fight on the ground, but that fight was not, it was hardly ever on the ground. It was on the feet most of the time. And that's what Chairez likes to do. So in order for Chairez to get the win here, Nathan, he's going to have to pop Taira early, do some damage, and make Taira really scared of coming in for the takedowns. If he can do it and keep it on the feet, he's got a chance. I just think Taira's game is so great once he gets it on the ground that it really is only going to take one time for Taira to get on the ground. I think he finishes it. I think he does it sooner rather than later here. What do you think on this one?
I'm in agreement. I mean, I think that Tatsuro Taira's stand up is getting better and better. He does have good power in his hands, and when he does, and he's got a surprisingly good chin. I mean, he does get cracked, and he goes for the single leg, and he gets the takedown. And when it's on the ground, it's pretty much game over. And we saw in the with with Edgar in his fight against Clayton Carpenter, that's what happened. On the feet, they were pretty competitive. I mean, Edgar does have a good solid boxing style. He's got good low leg kicks. It's just when he gets to the ground is where, and especially if he's off his back, he's kind of a fish, not a fish out of water, but there's levels to the game. And Taira is definitely the pro in that area. So I'm in agreement. I could see him, possibly if he's looking to stand and bang, getting cracked, shooting for the single leg, getting the takedown, and then working his way to the back, and then eventually getting that submission. Because I don't believe Edgar's submission defense is going to be good enough to last the 3 rounds. So I do see it finish inside of the distance. There is, the only, I guess, caveat would be that Taira has done weight cut after weight cut after weight. I mean, he actually went to the weigh-ins. What was it? 2
Yes,
weeks
he
ago?
did.
He made weight just maybe to prove that, hey, at least I did it. But I mean, that is a toll on your body. And then, depending upon how soon he knew he was going to get this fight, like whether or not he was, relaxing and then had to go back into the shop to drop the weight. So that's the only concern, I guess, is how he's going to look on the weigh-ins. But you can see that. But for the most part, it's definitely Taira.
Cameron Simon versus Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell coming out of the Alaskan League, like what you pointed out. They've been known to have a couple fishy records.
Yeah.
From
Padding, whatever. I mean, there's
Terrence Mitchell's film is tough to watch. His last fight, the camera was just above the ring.
It's just a fisheye. It's a fisheye lens in the worst possible spot, and
it's really tough to figure out, how good Terrence Mitchell is. You're not going to get great detailed film on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Simon is 8-0. He's 22 years old. I think most people would say, well, he's a really good young prospect. I think in a few years, he's obviously not going to be a prospect. I think he's going to be really good in the UFC. He's a big favorite in here. Do you see any red flags? Because I do actually in this one.
Do you? I don't. I mean, no. I mean, after I did watch the tape and I went back to be like, what is going on? Like, the camera angles were very hard. So you have to keep going further and further. What's this guy's physique? He is 5'10", 74-inch reach. So he's going to have a massive
Now you're
height
getting
and reach
there.
advantage against Cameron Simon. But Cameron Simon, his striking is next level. The way that he's able to switch stances, keep his head off the center line, move in and out, throw the double with he loves to throw combos, and his grappling's good. I think that it's just good. There's levels to the game. I know that Terrence is going to have a significant reach and height advantage, and that's why I think he made it to Tough Enough, or when he went against Kaikar France and got knocked the F out in the first round against a dude who's much smaller, had, much shorter arms, much shorter reach, and was still able to come in there, close the distance and crack him. And Cameron, I feel like he's definitely a prospect. Each time we see him in the ring, he makes leaps and bounds in regards to his game. And I think it's Cameron's fight to lose, to be honest.
I'm nervous about this one. I think people are going to rush to Cameron Simon. I did And then I just kind of started looking at some of this. Okay, so the Stephen Kozlow fight with Cameron, that was a good fight. It was really entertaining. I know we had Simon inside the distance, and it took him till round 3. He gets it, faces Mana Martinez, gets the majority win.
That was the Mana Martinez was a good step up in competition. A lot of people had that. I mean, I don't know what the odds were, but in regards to like how we felt about the fight and like how some other people out there had felt about the fight, that it was some people even thought it might have been too soon of a step up in competition based upon the striking ability and the durability of Mana Martinez, which is what we saw because it went to a decision. But like he just started taking over later on in the fight. I mean, that first round, actually, he lost a point in the first round from 2 nut kicks. And then, and then was still able to come back and win the decision, majority decision in that fight, which is highly impressive, especially against somebody who got a point taken in the first round.
I don't know about the Mana Martinez. He's a step up in competition. I don't know if it's great. I mean, he just lost in Fury FC. He lost to Simon. Okay, he beats Brandon Davis split decision. He lost against Ronnie Lawrence. That fight was amazing and awesome. He showed a lot. Here's my worry, man. Cameron Simon is 22, and he just doesn't look like he's got the muscles. Terrence is 33. Terrence is just flat out bigger. You mentioned the reach. You mentioned the height. Sometimes just being bigger and more powerful is just all it takes. I think Simon should win. There's no chance I'm betting on him just because we've seen these guys that kind of come out of nowhere and they've caused problems to the UFC guys. And when I was watching Simon in his last fight, I was like, he's just not that big. I mean, he's powerful, but he's not. Yeah. He just doesn't have the. That's what he'll get there. But he's 22, fighting a 33-year-old. The 33-year-old has been in 17 fights. They're bad competition. They're bad fight. Mitchell has absolutely nothing to lose. He's bigger. I would expect him to go for it. And Cameron Simon does fight exciting fights. So there's opportunities to finish on both sides. It just this one worries me. I think this is when everyone pens in. Oh, Simon, inside the distance, and all of a sudden Mitchell cracks him and jumps on top of him, and all of a sudden Mitchell's bigger and taller. So
I get what you're saying. I have another one. I have one. I have this. I have a worry in a couple fights that we'll talk about here in a second. Okay. I'm in the same position that you are. I'm the opposite end of you. I think this is just another showcase fight for Cameron. I think the UFC's behind him. He is exciting, charismatic, young. They're going to build him. They're doing it right. This Terrence Mitchell, I don't really believe in the skill set that he had. We saw it in the Tough Enough.
I think it was Ultimate Fighter.
Or sorry, Ultimate Fighter is what I meant. My bad. Where he just got laid out. And then the levels of competition that he's fought since then has just been lackluster. And again, from the Alaskan circuit. And then it's Cameron's used to having a shorter inch reach advantage, and he's used to kind of being the smaller dude as he was in the Mana Martina fight. I mean, I think he had a 4 to 5 inch reach disadvantage in that fight as well, and still was able to put it on. And I think Mana Martinez beats Terrence Mitchell day in, day out.
They better not fight in Fury.
Yeah,
man, it's just getting rolled in Fury FCs. All right, that's interesting. I have a couple red flags on this one. You like Simon to roll here. Jimmy Crute, Alonso Menifield.
No way. Steer clear.
I have that down there. The only thing you could do in this one is an over. Like maybe this is to start round 2 because they're so evenly matched. I mean, the last time they fought, I just thought it was pretty clear. Menifield was winning the stand-up. Crute's, working the wrestling game. Listen, Menifield gets the point taken away for the fence grab, which was a bad fence grab.
Yeah.
I wish they would do those points more often, but I feel like we've seen 10 way worse than that one that just gets a warning. There's no consistency to the fence grab whatsoever. I wish they would start taking away some more points, or at least award the position. That's the other thing they don't do. Yeah. They just yell at the guy. Like, stop having the fence. It's like, well, that doesn't help the guy that he just cheated.
Yeah, it's like he totally. I mean, you saw that we saw going back from the Alexandre Romanov, which was it was such a weird fight to see him stand and bang with
Blagoy.
with Blagoy for like the entire fight. But yeah, against the what was it, the Volkov fight? That was massive fence grab that stopped him, that stopped Romanovsky or Alexander from getting the takedown in the first round, in which he entirely gassed. So in an alternate universe, if you would have got that takedown, who knows? He might have done that. But anyway, yes, I totally agree with there needs to be a point deduction as soon as you start grabbing the cage. It's the only way fighters are going to stop doing it. Just like with the eye pokes, how they really started like applying the taking the point away from the fighter if they're keeping their fingers like forward instead of vertical. So
Yeah.
you got to teach them.
Crute and Menifield, anything on this one, or is this just kind of
No,
a?
you can't trust Crute's IQ. I mean, I was a proponent of Crute. I was a
You
fan of
were.
his.
You loved
I
him.
mean, I was like, look, his grappling's insane. Like, but he just never implements it. Why? I don't want to get into it. But you can't trust it. Like, you can't trust Jimmy Crute. When he should wrestle, he stands and bangs, and when he should stand and bang, he wrestles. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know why they're doing this fight. I know that they just happened like 4 months ago, and they're redoing it. And we'll see. We'll see if Alonso can get him out in the first round, or if Jimmy Crute's just going to implement the wrestling from the get go, and it just kind of be one of those fights. But I agree
Well,
with you in the start of the round too.
well, Melissa Gatto's like, hey, don't rip on people that have an advantage in the grappling and ground game and don't use it. She's like
Don't
that.
you
That's a low blow.
Don't you dare talk about fight IQ around me, says
I'll show
Miss
you.
Litigata. I'll show you. I'll
Uh,
stand and bang with Lipsky and still win the fight, but not.
but not.
So I could have won this fight a lot easier with my abilities, but I decided no. It's been a year. I wanted to try something different. So anyway,
We're not
moving on.
bitter.
No, not
V-
at all.
Vitor Petrino, Marcin Prachnio. I think you have this one as a fight where Petrino should not be the minus 275. I think he's higher than that right
Uh
now. So
I'll be on my island on this one, and Prachnio wins.
okay,
Prachnio wins this fight.
explain yourself.
Petrino isn't that great, man. I know that he's, inside the distance. I mean, kind of like a Bruto Ferreira that we saw, where it was the guy's just running through his opponents. He's big for the division. He's all muscle. And we saw in his last fight against, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the dude's name, who isn't that great of a fighter, in which he tried to implement a grappling and a, up against the cage kind of approach instead of the, coming forward and banging like everyone was used to. They were not expecting this fight to go the distance. Everybody had this fight inside the distance, and it ended up going to a damn decision. Watching him up against the cage, watching how he was chest to chest, how he wasn't dropping levels, it just shows that that's not a part of his game plan that he is comfortable with, or that's skilled at. Another fighter of a different level would have been able to take advantage of those shortcomings and reverse position, get a sweep, get a hip toss. It was there for the taking. It was just his opponent. That wasn't his ability. And then when you got it on the ground, and he was able to like muscle into these reversals, it was because, again, not going to try to pronounce the guy's name.
It's either Turcolage or Turcolay. I've heard both. We're
Yeah,
trying to get the
Turcolage, I think,
names
is what it
correct,
was. Yeah, I
but
know.
I've heard both. So we'll go.
But Turcolage just he's not. He just lets things happen. He's too loose. He's not tight enough. It reminds me of a little bit of like an older Gatto, where it's like submission over position. He doesn't necessarily go for go for the waist lock or try to lock in the butterflies. He just kind of is flowing and trying to look for a submission, which gave Petrino the ability to do the reversals. On top of that, Petrino was gassed in the first round. I mean, so was his opponent. They didn't have cardio, but it just showed me that with not much effort, Petrino looked gassed. And then also he wasn't able to get I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Starts with a T.
Well, Anton. I also heard Daniel Cormier say Turkali. So I've heard three.
Okay, it's all over the place. But yeah, so Anton, he wasn't able to get Anton out. And everyone's like, oh, Anton's got a great chin. It's made of something, different. I know Prachnio has been KO'd, in the past, like several times. So he has been knocked out. He's the thing that I like about Prachnio now are his leg kicks. I like his takedown defense. I like that he doesn't have great cardio, but I feel like it's better than Petrino's.
Oh, you can say that. That's
I
accurate.
feel like it's better, especially against the Philip Lins fight, like where Philip like kept going for the takedown, was eventually able to get like 2 or 3, but Pragno was still able to get up to his feet even in the third. And even though they were both exhausted, they're still going back and forth. I know that he lost that fight, but it could have, without the takedowns, I think he definitely had the advantage in the sense on the feet with the leg kicks. And that's where I see that this fight should be lined up a lot quick or a lot closer. And I feel that Prachnio's experience in the UFC, it's almost like a Luana situation from last week where I had her. It's just, I think it's too soon for a step up in competition, and the skill set that Prachnio brings, especially with the striking and the takedown defense, is going to wear on Petrino's gas tank to the point where I think Prachnio is going to be able to either get him out of there or just slow down his movement with the leg kicks enough to where it's an obvious decision win. That's how I feel about it.
I appreciate you taking that stance. I think it's pretty hard to go into a fight and say, "Oh, I really like Prachnio there." So I watch film on both. I was on the side of Petrino. I'm closer to where you are than when I first started watching film. I can't quite get to that. I think Prachnio can win. I worried that you did bring up the point that Lins was able to get uh, Prachnio down, but Prachnio was able to get back up. But Lins was able to get him down and at least affect the outcome of rounds. And I think Petrino can do that too. I didn't think his gas tank was as bad as I had remembered. When I went back and watched him fight Anton, my memory was, oh, he's just dead to the world in the third round, and it wasn't quite that bad. I do think Prachnio in round 3, if it gets to round 3, is going to be faster. He's going to have more, and I worry about guys like Vitor's body where he's carrying all that muscle.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
feels like it's too much
And
muscle.
I think that Prachnio is going to make him work harder than Anton did for the takedowns, and in those clinch situations, that's going to sap Vitor's gas tank faster than he did against Anton. Anton just, I didn't, I mean,
I think Anton stinks. He has no take.
exactly.
He has no striking defense. I mean, I don't know how many times he got his head moved, just
100
smacked back from.
Thanks for saying it. I didn't want to be that guy, but yes, he does stink. And the fact that he was able to take Vitor to a decision from a guy who's been doing nothing but knocking people out, and just like the way, I don't know. That's why I was like, I expected more out of Vitor against an opponent like that. And for him, even though he did win, the gaps or the openings that I saw in some of his technique leads me to believe that Prachnio is going to expose that, take advantage of it, and get the win. Whether it's probably by decision. It could be a late round finish, but
that would be hard. That'd be hard to see. Maybe if you get super gas, but
yeah,
I don't know. Kamuela, Kirk, and Esteban Ribovics. Earlier today, there was a fantastic comment about Kamuela, Kirk. It was kind of mean, so I don't want to read it, but it was very funny. Let's just say that this particular commenter is not a big fan of Kamuela Kirk and has some questions about his in-fight IQ. I looked up this fight. I walked away and said, I just really don't want anything to do with this fight from a betting perspective. Honestly, I didn't learn a whole lot from Ribovics' last fight against Loic. He was able to work takedowns. That's not really Kamuela Kirk's game. It's not similar at all. Kirk gets the finish on the ground. And got finished against Damon Jackson. I just didn't really learn a whole lot about these two guys and how they face each other. I think they have a lot of early finishes early in their career, but it feels like now they're at the level where it's like, no, these guys can fight back. And so I do like an over. I think this is going to be a great to start round 2 because I don't think either one of these two has the ability to finish the other one. I guess I would say Kamuela Kirk can work submissions. He almost got a submission in his last. I mean, I say almost. It was a decent attempt at an armbar. I don't know if Ribovics is, I don't know what his game plan is going to be. I would hope it'd be just to frustrate Kirk by pushing forward and maybe trying to work some kind of wrestling. But I don't have a strong opinion on this one just because I don't think I've learned a whole lot from when they moved up in competition. You can go back and watch their earlier fights and be like, oh, well, he just ran through that guy or just, knocked him out with a, right hook or something. But I don't know too much about these guys. I don't know who wins. Ribovics at minus 195, I guess seems about right. Because if you asked me who was going to win, I would say, I guess I got to say Ribovics. But over the fight go the distance or just, at least to start round two would be the only way I could bet on this one.
I like Ribovics. I like Esteban in this fight, and the reason for that is, I think his fight against Loic, Loic, showed a lot because he was knocking everybody out. I mean, basically nobody was making it out of the first round with this guy, but we were able to see his gas tank. He does not give up. He is typically at a reach disadvantage, but still, was able to go in there and almost put Loic out in the second round. I mean, the way that he was able to, the thing I like about his striking is that he'll hit you with 70% of his power and make you think that it's 100% of his power. And then all of a sudden he plants and he turns it on, and then he just rips to the body and up to the head and just cracks, like, F's you up, for lack of a better term. His ground game is impressive with his Kimura sweeps and his tenacity to get back to his feet against a, wrestler grappler like Loic that showed, I don't know, showed dividends. I mean, you look at like level of competition in regards to who Kirk has fought recently. It's like, does Esteban beat Marcin? Yes. I've always thought Marcin was just overrated. Just, to the ground is where he wants to get it. And then what was it? Damon Jackson. I had Damon Jackson because of the submission game, which I thought was just levels above Kirk's, who is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I think recently he just, got another like notch on it before he gets to purple and all that stuff. The only issue is he never uses it. And then on the feet, you'd think that he has all the skill sets. He's going to be the taller, longer fighter, but he's got a great jab and a good low leg kick, but he's just so low volume, right? Like he's just kind of like, I guess, maybe trying to counter and reading his opponent too much. And I think with Esteban, that's not going to be the case. He's going to want to bring the fight to him. Even if it goes onto the ground, I think that he's good enough to avoid the jiu-jitsu of Kirk, even though we rarely see it. And then on the feet, I just think that Esteban's going to be able to close that distance, rip to the body, get him to the head, use the tenacity and his cardio to just kind of break, Kirk in the later round. So I do like Esteban in this fight.
Love it. Kamuela Kirk and Esteban Ribovics. Yazmin Jauregui and Denise Gomes. I had this in my notes. I was like, man, if this was on a card that just wasn't really stacked with all the big names or some of the potential exciting fights, this could be a fight of the night on any card. Both women, very, very aggressive. They're going to both come forward. They both have KO power.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think Yazmin is championship material, and I think she's going to be in the mix sooner rather than later. You watch her striking, man, and it is just, it overwhelms. It's really impressive to watch. Denise Gomes, she had a really nice knockout against Stella Nunez. I just think Yazmin's just a little bit more crisp and a little bit more powerful and just a little bit more faster. I think she's just a little bit better everywhere, and that's going to end up being like kind of an easier win because I think she's going to be the first to land a really hard shot. I mean, Gomes has the power to land a really, really hard shot. She does have, one, I don't want to say one shot knockout power, but she does have that one shot that could change the fight or really, really slow down Yazmin. I just don't think she's going to have a chance. Yazmin pushes forward too much. He's going to have the reach advantage, I believe, here. She's a pretty big, sizable favorite. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, would you trust this in a parlay?
No.
Yo, you're saying no? See,
No, I think it's
I think I would. I
no.
think I would, but
This
you're
is
on the other side.
I'm the other side. I'm not on the other side. I think Yazmin. Here's the pro. I mean, depending upon Gomez's submission game, uh, Yasmin's going to get caught. She leaves herself way too open to somebody off their back, throwing up a triangle, sweeping. There's a hole in her game there that has been exploited. On the feet, she's a phenom. Her strike is incredible. Her power is incredible. Her aggression is fantastic. Her top pressure and her ground and pound is very, very good against opponents who aren't either one, used to be on their back, or two, aren't that great with submissions off her back. But there's opportunities and windows to take advantage of. I don't know if Denise has that ability, but however, Denise is a bulldog as well. Like
Absolutely.
she's they're going to be, she's got a 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage, Yazmin. So it's not that pronounced in regards to, like the reach, the striking, the power in Gomes. I think they're equal in regards to power. I think the striking goes to Yazmin just in technique, but I think up against the cage, Gomes has got it. Her grinding, her elbows, her strikes, her knees, just wearing on her opponent up against the cage, I think could be very advantageous. And if she's able to implement it in this fight, it could end up being highly sketchy if it goes to decision. Just because of that, I think that the odds, the value for me is on Gomes. I still pick Yana as just a straight pick. But the value is, I mean, at plus 320 right now, the value is on Gomes.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right. Especially if it
it's
does get to the judges. We've seen it all
dude,
with
it's
the judges.
I I think it's more evenly matched than people are giving than people are, the odds are indicating. You go back and you watch it. I know you got the undefeated fighter versus the girl who lost against Luma Lukbomi, but Luma is that, I mean, it was the clash of the Thai style with the trips versus like just the grind up against the cage, wear your opponent down, and Luma's Thai style won. But still, it was, she put on a good performance, especially in her UFC debut against somebody that like Luma, who I like. I think she's a great striker. Anyway,
I'm excited for that fight.
yeah,
Regardless, it should be an awesome fight.
mhm,
That
for
should
sure.
be a really good one. Speaking of a not good one, Shannon Ross and Jesus Aguilar, man. I don't want anything to do with this fight. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to bet on it. Aguilar, he's this undersized guy, loves to push forward, loves to push guys up against fence, try and get takedowns. He just can't really do anything with it. I just think he's too small. He's got a great gas tank, so he's gonna,
Mhm.
keep going the whole time. Shannon Ross just is not very good. This is like the UFC is just too big of a step up for him. So
Yeah.
I mean, it just we've seen him get obliterated. So Vinicius Salvador, like Shannon Ross came in and was a big prospect, and Salvador, I believe, was the underdog in that one. Salvador finishes him. We all thought, oh my gosh, the Salvador guy, he must be awesome. Well, it turns out Salvador's not, and Shannon Ross is, even worse. I mean, Yair Rodriguez made mincemeat of him in under a minute.
Mhm.
Uh, I listen. He's Australian. He's on the same card with Volkanovski. I get it, but this is just please don't put money on this fight. And I don't know how you can tell me who's going to win in this fight. I don't want an under. I don't want an over. I want nothing to do with it.
No, yeah, it's pretty much it. I mean, it's got to be a pass fight for real. It's just, you said it. Neither guy is somebody that you're going to write home about or excited about. I mean, Aguilar did put on. I mean, there was talk that he had a chance against Tatsuro, but we saw how that fight ended. But I think that,
Oh, did he?
yes, but I think that that his level of competition, he's been to the Contender Series, comes from what is it, Combate. I think I definitely would lean Jesus Aguilar over Shannon Ross. Shannon Ross, I think, is just being there because he's Australian, and they put him on a 3-fight contract, and this is going to be his last one, and it's probably going to be a loss, and he's probably going to get cut. And they'll find somebody else to, from Australia that they can replace him with. So anyway,
Yeah, we're passing on that one.
Mhm.
All right. Nico Price, Robbie Lawler. Nathan, I think you know that this is my favorite. Just there is no such thing as a lock, but we get maybe this is the last chance we have to bet against Robbie Lawler. You know what I mean? Like if he
Mhm.
gets starched again, this might be it for him. I just cannot bet anything on Robbie Lawler at this point. He's absorbed so much power and so much damage over the years. And this is a guy whose last win is against Nick Diaz, who literally just stopped and quit in the middle of the fight. Not in between rounds or anything, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, got standing knockout to Barberena. I'm low on Barberena. You know, loses to Magny in decision. But I mean, come on, look at the ass whoopings this guy has taken. Uh, no, it's over for him. I'm going to be betting on Nico to win by finish because I don't think it's every fight that Lawler has is just less and less that it takes to knock him out. So yeah, Brian Barberena knocking you out with the standing TKO. Yeah, no chance. I think Price has the much better power than Barberena. So if Barberena can knock him out, Price can. I don't think Robbie has much left in the tank. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not that big a fan of Nico Price either. I just don't like
No.
his technique. I don't like his cardio. But and I think that's maybe while they're doing this, maybe why they're putting these two together is that the UFC is like, maybe we can give Robbie Lawler one last shot. Like it's not a lamb to slaughter situation. It's Nico Price. There is a world in which you can win, Robbie. Like do it. like, go out there and do it, Robbie. But for the most part, no. I mean, he is 41 years old. Nico's been there a lot. I mean, of the recent competitions and all that. I just think that he's got the power. Robbie's keeps himself way too open, and his cardio is not that great nowadays as well. And it's just a sad fight. I mean, you're much more amped up about this fight than I
Yeah, I
am.
am. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I see it.
Come on,
So
man. Both these guys better make weight. I'm
mhm.
gonna be really pissed off. Am I gonna be upset if these guys miss weight? All right, next fight. Now we're getting into
Yeah.
the.
Oh.
Now here we go. Here,
Mhm.
Dan Hooker, Jalin Turner. I'll let you go first here. The Hangman versus the Tarantula. Um, yeah. What do you think?
I mean, it's Dan Hooker is going to have to implement a wrestling game, and that's it. If he doesn't, I really don't see at this point in his career. I know that he's Australian. The crowd's going to be behind him, but Jalin Turner's just turning it up. He has hit that next level. He's hit that stride. Lost a decision against Gamrod, who some people thought that he won just based upon damage, like damage given throughout the fight. Jalin Turner definitely had the advantage there. If all you do is hold somebody down, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it was bound to happen, but that's a great learning point, for him in that realm. And I don't see Dan Hooker being the type of grappler that Gamrot is, obviously. And so when it comes to the stand-up game, I think that Jalin Turner is going to crack Dan Hooker. I think it happens in the second. And I think that we get another KO win, and Dan Hooker's just going to be relegated to kind of like the gatekeeper, the higher end gatekeeper status for the new blood. Is where I see this going. I mean, I love Dan Hooker. I think he throws amazing fights. Incredible striker. He does have good takedown defense. He has good submission defense, but that's against people who are trying to take him down and submit him. If that's not the game plan, then it's like, okay, I'm more comfortable on my feet. But if you're going to be on your feet against someone like Jalin Turner, I don't see that working out for you very well. So I'm on the Jalin Turner train. I like the matchup. And unless Dan Hooker somehow becomes a Gamrot.
Yeah, his last 3 losses: Arnold Allen, Makachev, Michael Chandler. I mean, he got finished in the first round. I loved what he did against Claudio Puelles. I was blown away that nobody else thought of doing
Right?
that.
That's all you
But
had to do. That was, yeah.
yeah, but it didn't really. That wasn't about Dan Hooker. Like Dan Hooker's amazing, like
It,
strike. That was about how bad Claudio is.
yeah,
So
anybody implementing that strategy could have beaten Puelles at any point in Puelles' career. It's just that you come to realize that fighter IQ is something to really hold on to with a fighter. Like
it seems like it's really standing out now, where you're seeing like really bizarre like strategies where you're sitting there going like, God, man, I wonder why they chose to go that route. And it's like maybe
mhm,
they didn't. Maybe the fighter just decided to do it on its own, or not being able to make adjustments in between rounds, not realizing something worked. It's obviously always been a part of the sport, but you're right. We're just seeing it more and more. It is funny that Jalen Turner's best fight was his loss, to
right?
Gamrot. Like,
Yeah.
and
Where we saw a lot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Showed that cardio's not an issue against someone like Gamrot, which to me was the big thing. I was like,
Mm,
man, can this guy really, really go that distance? Yeah, I think this is a kind of another Michael Morales type situation where it's just a younger guy. And we talked about Michael Morales, like, we're betting on, if you're betting on Morales, you're betting on him showing improvements, and he did. And Turner, Turner's way farther advanced than someone like Michael Morales. But yeah, this feels like Turner gets the win, and now it's like, when's he get a title shot? Or
mhm.
that's what it just feels like, the natural progression. Here he is taking out the veteran that's got iffy chin and has been finished a lot, and then the Jalen Turner championship talks. So I'm with you, Jalen Turner. I don't think it's close.
Yep.
Uh, Robert Whittaker, Driscus, Duplessis. I've always said Duplessis, but I've been told Duplessis is normally how it's pronounced.
Mhm.
So we have a friend Corbin that, if you watch UFC and you know us from Wager Talk, Driscus is Corbin's most hated fighter for hilarious reasons. He calls him the windmill. He says he just swings wildly, and it is very hard to argue him when he says Triscus's wins are really, really kind of smoke and mirrors. Gets the win against Darren Till, who I believe tore his ACL in that fight. And then Derek Brunson finishes Derek Brunson, who, Nathan, I feel like a gust of wind could knock out Derek
Yep.
Brunson at this point. So, I mean, when Driscus got up after Brunson was like, I deserve a title shot, it was like, we were just like, okay, give me a break. I think this is quite a big step up for Driscus, and I just think it's going to be the cardio. He's gotten away with the bad cardio up until this point. I don't think
Mhm.
Whittaker is going to let him slide on that one. Whittaker, is Driscus probably, I don't know, probably, I would say round one is pretty close. 50-50. Driscus may have it just because that's when he has all of his energy. Maybe he tries and shoots some takedowns. Maybe his striking looks better. But man, as soon as this hits the second round, it's Whittaker on the feet all day. I think. Whittaker ends up winning a stand-up battle, probably by decision, unless Driscus gets really tired where he just can't take anymore. But I think it's Whittaker. I think Whittaker puts on a damn good showing, especially if Driscus doesn't get any takedowns in the first round.
I'm with you. However, there's the one thing that's out there is that tinfoil hat, right? The UFC
Oh yeah,
wants
here we go.
Duplessis to win. The UFC wants him to win. He's good on the mic. He's a good looking dude. He's a sloppy ass fighter. And his cardio, even though he says that's how he breathes, come on, man. Like that's not how you
Nobody.
act. Yeah, it might be how you breathe, but it's not how you act if
Well,
you've got like cardio for days. So whatever. But the fact that he's like calling out Israel and all the stuff with Africa and like that back and forth. And if he wins and they do a pay-per-view in Africa against
oh,
like it would be next level, like Rumble in the Jungle type shit. Uh And I think the UFC wants that. So with that in mind, is this a banana peel moment? Is this a weird like something or other that Whittaker blows out his knee, in like the first 30 seconds of the fight? Otherwise, it's I mean, the skills like the striking, the grappling, the cardio, the everything leans towards Whittaker. It's one of those things where the the
The
matchup needs to
conspiracy
happen.
theory,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell me the UFC wouldn't be salivating at Driscus beats Whittaker, gets on the mic and says, "I
Uh,
deserve a title shot, and I want it to be in Africa." I mean, you have when's that event? How many months do they have of just nonstop? That would be their biggest event probably ever up to
it
this
would,
point.
I
It,
mean,
it
yeah, I
would.
mean, in a long, dude, for real. Like it would.
Probably ever with the international thing. So you're
Mhm.
right. That is a great case to be made for it. Of course, they could even do the other. They could even go the other way. They are partnered up with wrestling. Maybe Vince McMahon or Triple H has some ideas. Like, what if Driscus loses and then says, my heart just wasn't in it because I've been thinking about you." Is he? They went that route. I
Oh,
don't know.
that'd be funny. That'd be awesome. Either way, I mean, that's the only. I mean, other than like a flash knockout, some fluke banana peel injury, it's Whittaker. But again, the UFC wants Dricus to win.
Sometimes these things magically work out
Mhm.
for the UFC. Bo Nickel, Trayshawn Gore. I don't think we need to spend too much legitimate time on this one, do we? It's Bo
Nope.
Nickel,
Yep.
parlay piece.
Yep.
I tried to go down the list of how Bo Nickel could lose, and I really couldn't get there. So,
I
yeah,
mean,
you can't.
I mean, he's got a good. I mean, he's been doing if it goes, it's going to get to the mat, and as soon as it gets to the mat, it's game over. Um, it's
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. It's tough. I mean, and they gave him Gore for a reason. It's like, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sorry, Gore. I mean,
It's a showcase. The
you
good
know,
news is you're on a pay per view on the main
yeah,
card.
yeah, you are.
So congratulations.
Mhm.
Brandon Moreno and Pantoja. What is it with Moreno only fighting the same couple of guys? Can we get some other people for
Mhm.
Moreno to fight, please? Listen, Pantoja and Moreno. I will not be betting on this. I have too many paths to victory for each guy, but I also have questions for each guy. So I'll just go over mine. My question on Brandon Moreno is this guy's been training to fight Figueroa for for 3 years, and then he does fight Kai Car France, and he does get the win. But um, for Moreno, I don't think Kai Car France is going to show the aggression as early as Pantoja can put on him.
Mhm.
And I mean, by the end, it was just like him and Fig fighting. It was just like they knew each other so well. Moreno knew what to expect, and I don't know. I think it probably got easier just to study for it. But Pantoja is going to be different, so I do think there could be a little bit of the unknown factor that could be a question on Moreno. Paths to victory. I mean, if he works the kicks to the body and legs and slows down Pantoja, he's going to cruise to a
Mhm.
decision win. If he uses his length along with the kicks and uses the jab and Pantoja can't, break through and get it in close, yeah, it's just going to be Moreno piecing him up and winning by decision as Pantoja's face is all cut up.
Yeah.
Pantoja's path to victory, I loved his last two performances. He just the fight started and he ended it. And I mean, he about ripped Alex Perez's face off in the last fight. I mean, it goes down as a rear naked choke. It was almost a decapitation.
Yeah.
The way he got that. I think the way he finished those last two fights is just going to be a little bit more aggressive and powerful than what Moreno has. I think he could overwhelm in the first minute or two right off the bat with that big explosion of power. But then, of course, the question that you have about him is, the last fight together was what was that 5 years ago, I think. Um,
Yeah, it was forever ago.
yeah, it was a long time, so you can't really take much out of that. And then the question is, his last two fights were really quick. I don't can he go full 3 rounds with Moreno? Moreno is going to go 3 rounds, at basically the same speed. So can Pantoja put on the pressure early and survive it? I have questions for both. I have paths to vote. Therefore, I'm just going to be a fan in this one, and I'm not going to be betting on it.
Yeah, sweet. I mean, I'm with you. I think it's going to be an amazing fight. I go with the Moreno side of things just by the activity and the level of competition that's been, as of recent, right? Like, yeah, I know he's fought Figueiredo, in his past however many fights, right? What has it been?
Yeah,
Uh,
well, so he fought Figueredo. Then there was a Kai Car France, and then it was 1, 2, 3. We had
yes.
the draw. It's just like, come on.
Well, yeah, but at least it's a top elite. I mean, so Kaikar France, which is the strikers, like that was everything that everybody was worried about was Kaikar France's tenacity and his striking. Davis and Figueredo is striking and submission and just, violence, right? And he won, he lost, and then he won again. And then, he's also beaten Brandon Royval, which I love, who Pantoja also beat. But then you got to look at Pantoja. I mean, Manel Cap in Cap's debut. He beat him by decision. Breno Royval, choked him out in the second round. Great first round fight. Alex Perez, don't blink because he just ripped the head off Alex Perez. But that was a year ago. And then before that, it was a year before he fought again. So I think it's just the activity level that Brandon Moreno has been able to take advantage of. The level of competition, even though it might not have been much of a variety, it's the creme de la creme of people that have been fighting on a consistent basis. And I think that Moreno has it in the stand up. I think that Moreno has it in the grappling, but the jiu-jitsu, I think Pantoja's got it there. I mean, but it's close because Brandon Moreno's no slouch on the ground either. I mean, he's able to defend, he's able to do his own. I think that if it gets out of the first, I mean, Pantoja's going to have to come out there, I feel like a wrecking ball and pull off what Brandon Moreno did to Fig in their first matchup. The surprise flash win. Or no, was it?
I
No,
know
yeah,
what you meant.
what I'm saying? No, he did draw. Oh no, they got a draw. What am I talking about? He got a draw, then rear naked choke in round 3, then he lost. Yeah. So what was I saying? Anyway, I thought he went out there and he actually got the upset sooner than the third round. But what I'm trying to say is that I do think the Moreno does have the more current experience to beat Pantoja. I think it's going to be an amazing fight. But yeah, that's where I see it going.
Alexandre Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez. Guys, you can get all of our official picks on wagertalk.com. We obviously do UFC, but we got all other sports over there. We got Major League Baseball. We've got golf, Formula One, NFL's coming up. So we got a lot going on over there. Check us out at wagertalk.com. The link will be in the description. Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez. I think the last couple fights I've been like, yeah, I don't really believe in Yair Rodriguez, and then he wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I yes, I was wrong because I'm like, oh, I don't really believe in him, and then he gets the win. But I mean, you go back and look at his wins. Okay, great. He gets that amazing elbow with 1 second left in the fight. Jeremy Stevens, who isn't even in the UFC, he does fight Holloway. He loses. Then he wins because Ortega, breaks his collarbone, hurts his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he beats Josh Emmett in the triangle choke. They were on the ground, and now it really does look like Emmett's at the end. I don't know. I think Volkanovski is a step up in competition for just about everybody, but this is a big one. And what I keep hearing about Yair Rodriguez, which is another red flag, especially against somebody like Volk, is they talk about, oh man, his crazy wild elbows and the kicks and he's got all this crazy offense, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I didn't see a ton of it against Josh Emmett. You saw flashes. You couldn't see it against Ortega because that fight was over real quick. And
Mm-hmm.
then Holloway, he loses. I think everyone remembers this elbow. It's such a great highlight reel, but Are you telling me Yair's going to be able to pull off some of that nonsense against Volk? No way.
No,
No way.
no.
So I just, whenever I hear that, oh, this guy's flashy. No, you know what beats flashy? Volkanovski likes beating flashy. So, I mean, Volkanovski, he basically has no holes in his game.
Mhm.
His fight IQ is
Unless he goes
incredible.
up a weight class to fight like
And even then,
the best, and even then, yeah.
he put on a great show.
Mhm.
He was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. But like, like there's no hole. Fight IQ, amazing. Camp, amazing. Cardio, amazing. Striking and ground game. He just knows whatever to do to
Yeah.
win. Like if you're the slightest bit less than him in striking, good night. Um, I just don't think Rodriguez has it. I don't think Rodriguez is going to be able to wear down Volk over a main event. That's just Volk's world. Um, I think Rodriguez's best chance is to try and get Volk. If Volk tries to download information in the
Mhm.
first round,
Yeah.
maybe that's where
Yeah.
Rodriguez could jump in. But I think Volk takes a little bit of time to kind of figure him out, and then all of a sudden just puts on an incredible pace, like championship pace, big time striking, grappling, just stuff that Rodriguez just hasn't seen yet. So I think it's too big of a step up for Rodriguez. I think Volk kind of humbles him a little bit.
100% with you. Especially, do you think that, I mean, outside of the first round with Yair, do you think, I mean, after that, it goes to decision? Or do you see Volkanovski being able to finish it inside the distance with the 5 rounds that he's going to have to work Yair to the bone?
Well, I just think he works him.
Mhm.
I don't think he knocks him out because Yair is tough, and I think Yair's defense is,
Yeah.
is great. So it's going to be hard to finish. But Volk, it's not totally what he does. He just, he takes what his opponent gives him, jumps on it, and just makes it. I mean, just he ends up dominating him.
Mhm.
I could not believe how good he was against Makachev. Could not
Yeah, that was, and
believe it.
Makachev was, I don't think Makachev could believe it. Like, I mean, he was just like, well, all right, this is next
Who's
level.
this guy? But
So
yeah,
it is going to take something pretty spectacular in order to beat, um, Volkanovski. And yeah, I don't think a year, especially, just the level of activity, the level of competition, uh, it's going to have to be Volk all day. So,
yeah. I don't know. I tried to get there for Yair, but I don't know. I feel like this is just Volk's a complete package that just
mhm.
finds the holes in the game. So, all right. So I think we like Volkanovski in that one. I think we both lean Moreno over Pantoja, but definitely not a strong opinion there. Bo Nickel and Gore. We went back and forth. We decided Bo Nickel might be the
It's a
play.
close, it's a coin toss.
Yeah.
It is yeah, it's the parlay buster.
Whittaker and Driscus, we both like Whittaker, although Nathan did point out the conspiracy theory that if Driscus wins, they can set up the Izzy Driscus match in Africa. Dan Hooker, Jalin Turner, we're both all aboard the Jalin Turner train. Nico
Mhm.
Price, Robbie Lawler, my favorite. And most confident play is Nico to win by TKO. Shannon Ross and Aguilar, hard pass on that one.
Yep.
Yazmin, Jauregui, and Denise Gomes. Um, I'm more confident in Yazmin than Nathan is. We both think it's going to be a great fight. We think Gomes is an absolute live dog. I think Yazmin gets it done. Nathan says slow down. Kamuela, Kirk, Esteban, Ribovics. Nathan likes Esteban Ribovics a lot in this one. I lean it that way. So Kamuela just doesn't have all of the parts to take on Ribovics, and Ribovics should have a few advantages in this one. Vitor, Petrino, and Marcin Prachnio were different on this one. I like Petrino barely. Nathan's all in on Prachnio. Says he's not only going to make it a close fight, but he's going to pull away. Doesn't like the gas tank on Petrino. So
Mhm.
that's Nathan's big big
Especially at
flag.
+2, whatever he is.
Great price.
It's a great price just to take a stab on.
Crute and Menifield, we both just say take the over in this one. You got
Yeah.
Crute with the wrestling, Menifield with the striking. We've seen this fight before, so taking over. Cameron Simon and Terrence Mitchell. Nathan likes Cameron Simon. I worry for Cameron Simon just because of the size difference that Terrence Mitchell is going to have. Cameron Simon not quite yet his man body. Edgar, Chairez, Tatsuro, Taira. Pretty easy for us. We like Taira to get it done on the ground. And shout out to Josiah Harrell for making it in last
The
notice.
sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, Jack Madalena inside the distance is going to be where we're going that one. So thanks everyone for watching. Check us out on wagertalk.com. Link will be in the description. Thanks so much. Good luck, and let's have a great UFC 290.